It's interesting.
Oh.
You can, what? We started? Hey, Sai, we started? Yeah? Because, what did you say, 1 to 2? Okay.
Interesting
So
start.
why is that?
Very interesting start.
Why?
Okay, I'm not really deep into music. Like, my knowledge of music and is not really, I'm not a music savvy. But everything that I love is from the past. And I'm very nostalgic, and this is the relationship I have with music. And this was my dad's favorite song. So it reminds me of him. Yani.
It's part of all our childhoods growing up here, right? I feel. At
Yeah.
least it wasn't part of mine.
And I felt
I know the song, but I never knew who sang it until you know.
I love
you
it so
sang
much.
that.
And now already that you put it, it's, oh my God, it's, yeah.
But is it
That's an emotional start.
But isn't this what music's supposed to do, right? I mean, you don't need to
But
know about music.
What does that mean that now I'm really not into music? It's almost, I live in the past.
Hold on. When did we inverse the roles here?
Wow, okay, the question has begun. The thing is with the song has also been made in so many different ways.
So many versions, yeah.
Madfai is one of them, one of the
love
more
him.
recent ones. This is really old and it brings up so many layers. You're all about layers. You're all about
100%.
retexturizing. If I've know enough about
As
you
you say,
correctly,
yeah,
you've been
100%.
retexturizing. You've been bringing a bit of the past to the, and you're quite emotional.
I'm all about like what I'm wearing is I didn't wear from my brand. It's a vintage jacket. Music that I like
There
is
you
from
go.
the past.
There you go.
And yeah, I really appreciate old glamour, and it plays a big role in my fashion and in my art.
Well, I wouldn't say old. I would say glamour in general, right? And creative glamour. And sometimes it can come from the past. Sometimes it can be very
100%.
futuristic. And,
But the reason I call it old, because so many things are being introduced now and people are giving credit to their creativity. So
yeah, exactly.
So old is kind of, if you take it in like a very literal way,
yeah.
it would be démodé or out of fashion.
Yeah.
But old, I mean, is from the past.
Vintage.
It's from the
Vintage.
past.
Yeah. There's
Well-
nostalgia. I heard the word nostalgia, and that always brings something into the conversation. But I'll let you first introduce.
I'll just welcome our guests.
Yes, welcome, yes.
So, hello and welcome to Forward Moves, a podcast hosted by Lina Nahas and Raja Haddad, a conversation with our guests where we talk about their path and their journey to success and what obstacles they have overcome through that journey. Hello, Mariam Yahya.
Hello.
Or should I say Mrs. Kipa?
Interesting question. I relate to both. Recently, I'm introducing Mariam Yahya more because I'm in a place where I really feel nostalgic to everything from the past. And Mrs. Kipa is something that have been introduced 2016 to the world. But I got this nickname from my husband, who goes by Kipa. He was a goalkeeper. So when we started dating, which is 2011, people called me Mrs. Kipa. So it's recent in a way. I loved it. It was very inspiring. And this is why I called the brand Mrs. Kipa. But now I'm in a stage in my life where I'm looking into everything that really made me who I am. And being Mariam Yahya is
a key part of that.
Is who I am
and it's
originally.
eternal. It will always
100%. So, yeah.
Well, I'll do the official intro.
be. Okay.
All right. For our listeners and viewers, Mariam Yahya launched her label Mrs. Kipa in 2016, as you said, fulfilling a lifelong dream inspired by childhood memories. Watching her mother sew clothes using Burda magazines. When I read that brought me back like years into the past. Burda magazines.
With
This is
the
amazing.
Following
Exactly.
this line.
It's like
And the
you
scissors.
automatically imagine a dining room like
with the Madfai with the photos in the background. Inspired by Dubai's patchwork of evolving identities and her own duality in terms of identity. You're half Egyptian, half French.
That's the old identity. So
that's the old identity.
I know
We'll
it's in my
come
back
back to that. That's very interesting.
I'm more Egyptian than ever.
Interesting. We'll come back to that. So you use that in your designs to explore and through fashion and combine, these. I don't want to say contrasts, but the different images that you try to present and of these overlapping cultures. The result is a new, richer visual language that that's demonstrated through Mrs. Kipa, the brand. And these narratives are reflected in pieces that blend tailoring and sportswear.
Yes.
developing an aesthetic that fuses the effortless French flair that Mariam Yahya grew up with, around with the multicultural details she
That's
later
the only
discovered.
authentic part in the French.
That's not authentic part.
Yeah,
okay.
which is, it's part of who I am. Like my mom is half French. My
Yeah.
grandma is 100% French. And I was born and raised in Egypt. However, our household has been super European because my mom's identité is very Frenchy.
Very Francophile.
100%.
Yeah.
She didn't really mingle with the Egyptian culture. She was in a very conservative French household that made her a very European person in her attitude and behavior towards life.
Was that in Cairo or Alexandria?
Actually, no, Ismailia. My dad,
Ismailia?
my dad was
right.
Qubtan Bahari. He was a
wow.
pilot.
Captain.
Yeah, captain. So we lived in Ismailia, which didn't really.
Conform either to.
It's like at the end of the day, it's a small city, you know. So we were really in a very conservative, excluded from what Egypt is about.
Right.
Egypt is chaos. Egypt is, you know.
Live.
Alive, 100%. Yeah, I mean chaos in a, you know,
In a
like
positive way,
يعني
yeah.
klaxon,
Lively,
it's
yeah.
like, yeah.
Collective.
Ismailia is the complete opposite. So the French part was in the house. So it was something very organic. My mom's behavior towards life, even her making our clothes, you know, it's a very Frenchy,
Yeah,
kind of practical, convenient, which she learned from her mother. So this is why, and I was born in Ismailia. I left to Cairo when I was 13. So, you know, like this is the time where you really develop your personality.
Exactly.
So, and Ismailia, it was made by French, by the way.
Yeah,
So when
yeah.
Canal de Suez was built, it
I
was
didn't know
done.
that.
So
It was
even
founded by French.
so the architect, the houses, and everything. So it was really as if I lived
In France.
in
a piece of
France.
yeah.
So this is why, like, we're a bit different. Me and my sibling, we're a bit different than what a proper Egyptian would be like. We didn't grow up in a family where you have a lot of cousins living in Cairo,
Yes.
mingling. No, it was just the four of us: my dad, my mom, and my sister.
So that's almost like the beginnings. It feels like this is where it began for you. Can we say that because you're the mom, the making of the clothes, that kind of French identity, but within the bigger scope of the Egyptian identity, is that how it began for
My
you?
dad was very Egyptian, so this is where the
Right.
mix came.
Right.
My
What
dad
the-
is a typical Egyptian.
What
He's
is a
me-
typical Egyptian?
Yes.
Typical Egyptian, very loud, a bit, you know, when you say sans façon, and when you
Yeah.
sit with someone, you was, oh my God, that was like, كتير, like you just, sans façon. He would deal
very,
with
very much in your face.
in your face.
Yeah.
A joke that would come to his mind, he would say it in front of me and my friends, although it's like it was in Egyptians are super unfiltered, super. So it was a really interesting mix, my dad and my mom, and it really made me who I am. I took this very artistic, calm, introvert part of my mom. However, my dad made me the independent, strong character. I don't know if it's a word, unintimidated from.
Uninhibited, yeah.
Yeah, it's from my dad.
But it's interesting. I see that duality again. Now we're
But
starting
this is why I'm telling you,
Already.
it's really part of who I am.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
yes.
but
It's in your DNA.
it's in my
not
DNA.
just an upbringing. It's actually in your DNA.
It
It's
is
a
true.
polarity that you brought together to create from, and it's not conflictive. It's actually
100%.
created
It
such
creates depth,
space.
especially that my style is eclectic. So I don't know if it started from who I am or they helped me in already, like, you know, me liking this direction. It was something that I found in both parents.
It's a mix of both.
It's
as
a mix
well,
of
you know.
both,
It
yeah.
could be starting from who you are, but then it evolves over time, and you kind of keep on enriching that with the different experiences.
Especially that
and
my
different
mom had a very
creations.
Frenchy style. I don't have a French style in terms of clothing. I'm more Italian. I'm more, you know, colorful. So
The French style is very much silhouette
minimalistic,
written.
silhouette,
you know, it's like who's la femme française.
Oui,
you know,
c'est
it's
ça.
like, and then you're right. Italian
I
is
have
much
the
more
you find me Italian African. If I
Italian
would,
African. Yeah.
if I would give first time by the way, I think about it.
That's
but
yeah, it's interesting Italian African because I see the creativity, the colors, but also the layering. If I listen to Italian African,
100%.
that's what you're referring to.
100%.
There you go. You heard it first on
There we
go.
Forward Moves. You know, Mrs. Kipa
I was
defined
worried,
as
you know,
Italian
because
African.
when you do a lot of interviews, you feel like you're going to repeat yourself, but it's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the deconstruction and reconstruction and reconstituting, and you think it's just from identities that we've lived, but actually something you felt it goes through you, and something else gets filtered out that's very, very unique and only specific to you. And now you just said the African Italian,
and I think at every phase of life a layer come out, although
Yes.
like everything is already built in.
Yeah.
So as I said, when you said French Egyptian, I said it's my old identity because it is true. However, now I live more into, I'm more proud of the Egyptian side. I want to enrich in it. I want to spend more time with it. I want to love it more, you know?
Is this a reaction to a time where you may have stepped away from it?
Yes.
And you're trying to
100%.
reacquire it in a way?
100%.
Does that make sense?
I'll
Yeah?
tell you something. When I moved to Dubai, which was 17 years ago, and although me living in Egypt, yet I'm not really part of the culture majorly. Like I don't relate, although I was telling you intimidation is really not part of my personality. When I moved to Cairo, there was a major intimidation. I felt, oh my God, what's happening here? Who I am. It was a big step in my life where I felt I don't belong, I don't relate. And in Ismailia, we lived in a way where it's a compound, where we were all knew each other. It's a French school where I felt my importance.
Like
I felt
a small village.
100%, and where everybody knows everyone, and you already know who you are. You're so like you're already
You
built.
belong as
You're
well.
set.
You're set.
Yeah.
Cairo was like a time where it was too big for me, and I didn't know where do I belong. And definitely, I didn't feel that I'm part of it or welcome because we don't have a big family. My mom being all her family are in France,
Yeah.
and my dad only has one brother, so we are really a small family. So going to Cairo didn't help me to really mingle and go and get more of the culture. It made me feel more
An outsider.
an outsider.
Right.
But what I hear is that it didn't stop you.
Actually, it was the fuel.
It was the fuel.
That's
and
what
you
I
say that
was.
with such a
It
smile.
was the
That's what I want to hear.
Ooh, tell us about that fuel.
It was the fuel
passion.
because I lived from the age of 13 till I went to university. And in university, you feel more that you don't belong because you're more aware, you know?
Yeah.
You're more aware of seeing like people that have cousins interacting together. And this is the time where you're really like 19, where you're really building who you are. And you start seeing so many different examples in life that has more layer. At school, khalas, you have 20 people with you in the class.
That's it.
Yeah.
No, university is totally different. You're not wearing the uniform. So uniform as a
Exactly.
metaphoric way. you
Totally,
know?
totally. You're free.
Yeah.
You're
You're
free.
free, but you're
so who
free.
are you going to be?
Yeah.
Who are you going
Who
to
are you gonna
exactly.
be?
You're no longer defined by certain codes that school
100%. And something that you built at school, you built khalas. You have your entourage, you built your best friends, and it's safe.
Yeah.
The university, I felt it was, oh my God. And especially, you know, I'm sure, like it's in Egypt and my husband is Lebanese, so I hear him saying, using the same language, you have corners at university. We say the upper gate, the cool people. You have where the engineers are, where we call them
Is
the
he in
nerd.
AUB? Is he in AUB?
He was
graduate?
LAU.
LAU,
Yeah, so there are corners.
Yeah.
I didn't know which corner I really belonged to.
It's true. It's
The way
true.
I looked, I had a very rock and like a lot of kahal was very dark. My
It's
style
very
was very
gothic,
dark,
like a
very
goth.
gothic. But my personality has nothing to do, but for nothing. I was very naive
You're just
actually,
trying it
but the
out.
way I looked, which I believe now was a way of
An armor.
armor.
Was that?
Super.
And do you feel the need for such armors? Did you feel the need for such armors through
Now that I
different
look back
stages?
at it, because I told you the inside of me, even music, like this is usually it's a cult,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And I had nothing or zero relationship with music. So it was something that I felt maybe I was hiding behind. I used to wear a lot of black, although I was telling my husband about confidence. I was very confident. So there is a big contradiction.
Yeah.
I was never someone that did not own her looks or felt insecure, or my emotions has always been super strong, confident. But when you grow up, especially in the 40s, you start looking back at things and you start seeing it differently.
Totally.
So
But you knew what you were doing. I mean, that's the difference. Is you knew you were using the black. As
I
a
didn't know back
statement.
then.
Oh, you didn't.
I didn't.
Okay.
No, but it's
you were
super confident. Now looking back is like,
Why did I do that?
why did I do that? Yeah.
But you think, the thing is that we often talk about armor as if it's something negative, as if it's something we're hiding away from something or we need to protect ourselves. Whereas for me, I see it as an enabler of moving forward.
Of course.
You need some sort of a different identity than the one you
in
are.
the world we live in as a therapist. It is a way of...
It is.
And
You're
an
right.
armor actually is the reason there's an armor even in war is to protect who you are and to find out who you are on the way, as well as
100%.
to break out when needed.
Yeah,
Like you
exactly.
take it off when you need to take it off, but it's
100%.
that breakdown to get out of the armor is also a step, and staying within the armor is a previous step.
But
to
the key here is
understanding
for you
yourself.
to be, how to say it, comfortable with the armor. you
Aware.
Right.
Aware.
Aware,
Yeah.
and you own it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Some people package things in life because of the insecurities, but still they are unhappy.
Yeah. They're not too sure about
They are not
that.
too sure about it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, I think, the really thin line between using it because you will keep on changing a lot. You will have zero identity.
wear different
Every day you're
armors.
going to be
You put a different layer every day.
100%.
Yeah.
So
Is this and this contributes, I think, to the resilience that we build around ourselves.
for sure.
You know, we need these protective layers. We need these armors so that we can keep on moving in life.
And this is the French part, to go back to it. And this was another layer to use it when I entered the fashion world. I never put it in anywhere. Like, I knew it was part of who I am. It is, you know, especially that it's the nationality is by blood. It's not that they took
Yes.
it because they were living. She's like southern from Toulouse. So when I entered the fashion world, when we saw how hard it is for an Arab brand to become global and to get attention, automatically I found myself putting even French Egyptian, not Egyptian French. So this is
Interesting.
why I'm telling you,
Why
it was
French
an
Egyptian? Does that give it an extra layer of uniqueness as well and stand out?
of relevance,
Relevance.
of credibility.
Right.
Yeah.
What's also
And the sad part is it worked.
It works.
It worked.
I was
Yeah,
going to
it's
say.
not that it was.
Yeah.
We know it works.
It's beautiful also that you are, you know, part of who you are as well is you pick and choose what you need in the moment. It's like we pick and choose masks sometimes without knowing, like we were saying, but you're picking and choosing constantly on purpose. And that's also reflected in your designs. Like you are consciously picking and choosing an identity for each, even looking at the names of the labels in your collections. It's like, I read them and I was like, wow, this is so specific and particular.
It reflects how I feel at the
And
moment.
it reflects
At the moment.
At the
Yes.
moment.
and also each one of them is the paradox we're talking about. Each one of them held a paradox of sorts.
This
that
is
you
why I
brought
proudly
together.
say the brand is a very personal story.
Yeah.
People tells and they keep on repeating that you have to remove yourself from the brand if you want it to grow. The reason I started it all, it was a personal story. And yes, even the part that tells you it has been a dream of mine, or maybe that was a lie because it has not been a dream of mine.
We know that PR
Sometimes
writers
because
are
actually I
good in
did
what they
the-
do.
So I'm now coming as transparent as it gets. Actually,
And that's what we love in
it
Forward
was
Moves.
it was never even on my mind, and it was not my idea. Because I grew up in an atmosphere where creating and making clothes has not been something that is super, you know, how people enter fashion
Glamorous.
nowadays is glamorous.
Yeah.
It was not. It was, if you come to think of it, it's cutting cost, it's the
Yeah.
convenient
It's
way
also
of doing things.
practicality.
It's practicality. It's less glamorous actually than being part of the fashion world and just go shopping with your parents. So for me, making and doing silhouettes has been part of who I am. Like, what lunch are we going to have today? You know,
Yes.
it wasn't, I've never, ever looked at fashion in a way where I was impressed. Even the word fashion, I don't like
Yes.
it. So it was very interesting that I didn't feel that it was a dream of mine at any point. I was actually in the corporate executive world.
You're in the media world.
I was in the
yeah.
media world, and this is what I studied, integrated marketing communication. And at the point when it was straight after my wedding, I had like an argument with my direct boss through emails, and I was very offended, and I
So that's
resigned.
it.
I just resigned with zero plans. And, you know, living in Dubai, and my husband at the time, he was opening his company, his media company. So we really were unsure of what kind of income we were gonna, especially I used to make a lot of money from
From your
my
previous job,
position
yeah.
and him as well. So, and I supported him to start his own company, and it was like full force, go ahead, don't, like, we're safe.
Just jump in the deep end, yeah.
And he encouraged me to resign. So it was really,
Amazing.
so it was his idea.
Was it his?
It was his
Okay.
idea. And this is why the brand is called Mrs. Kipa.
But something must have inspired him to give you that idea.
We were
right?
sitting, I remember very well, we're sitting in Venice, and
I mean, what better place to have such an idea,
it
right?
started in Italy, and I was like, oh my God, Basil, what's next? He's like, what are you talking about? It was very, like, the answer was very, for him, trivial. Natural. It's like, what are you talking about? Fashion is next. It's like, what do you mean? And I was shocked. It's like, what do you mean? It's like,
it never crossed your mind.
Never.
Yeah.
How
never.
interesting.
Opening a media company, like when I was 19, I opened my own advertising. Like, I've always liked creativity.
Yeah.
But in the advertising, in creating brands, in creating logos, I've always loved colors. I've always experimented with the way I dress. Has been part of who I am since the age of 8. So my mom would do the burda silhouette. I would change the fabric. I would change the color. I remember very well. It started with Charlotte.
You would do all that.
Everything. It would be nothing but it was because the burda is really patterned.
Yeah, it is.
You know what to expect.
Yeah.
So I remember she created Charlottestone, which is already something that is exaggerated. And I remember I made it from this to this. And I made it start higher. So it was more dramatic from this to this, and it was red.
And this is what's in your collection
and I was
now.
8 years old, you know? So it has always been part of me. This is why I didn't see it as a business. And my mom never commercialized it as well.
It was your second nature, so you never thought about it
but him as an outsider, and it's very interesting because now I learned to watch everything as an outsider because this is when you see things in the right perspective.
There you go.
So exactly.
There you go.
So it was his idea, and I was like, okay, but I don't want to be a parasite. I don't want to be, especially in that, it was in 2013 when we were having this conversation, everybody would want to be a fashion designer or a cupcake maker. That was the trend in Dubai. So I said I want to do it right, and I enrolled in ISMOD. I started to see if there is a fashion university in Dubai to that extent. It was never something that I even researched. So ISMOD was newly...
Was the faculty that you joined,
I did a 1-year program, and honestly, I learned, like, it was maybe, like, for me, it felt right, but it wasn't something that really gave me the fashion knowledge in the way. I don't believe that fashion needs to be studied to be very fair.
I was going to say it may have offered you a structure to what was already intuitive.
It gave me confidence.
It gave you confidence that you can go ahead with that.
But press releases.
A starting
point, which I did use today.
A starting point, so like the burda, basically. But then you do what you want.
But it was intuitive, right? Your sense of fashion, your sense of creation,
this
your
is what
creativity.
I discovered. I'll tell you why, because I was the student that sketched the worst. However, the teachers loved me the most and loved my art the most.
Because you brought up new ideas every time.
100%. So I learned really there is, and that gave me confidence. And I always tell it to people when I get asked, what do you advise new designers? Like, there is no advice. It's either in you or not. Yeah.
What was behind that? Was it your sense of curiosity? Was it your sense of wanting to know more that led to this creativity?
I think I'm a big believer in zodiac signs, and I'm a big believer that I'm an Aquarius, and it's an air sign. And I think now, since we know terms, I think I have a bit of ADHD. So there are, like, my life is about a lot of images.
We don't call it ADHD anymore.
What is it? Yeah.
I don't know, but it's apparently we don't call it ADHD anymore. We call it like
There's
flow.
No labeling.
There's no labeling. It's more like in the flow or flowing.
No, oh my God, I love this. Yeah. I'm always in the flow. Always. So many pictures in my head.
It's like what I'm seeing is it's really part of your DNA as well. It's not just the cultural identity, the fact that you can think outside the burda lines, the set lines. Yes, also the Aquarian in you. It's just part of who you are. The glasses.
It's very organic.
When you were talking about the glasses, like, it's so unique to you. It's your way. And it takes that for a successful fashion designer to come through and be memorable your way. That's what's so convincing.
I play a lot with, even in my house, like, if you see it's super eclectic, and people would say, oh my God, how did you put those colors together? I tell them, I don't know. Yeah. It keeps on building up. There is no criteria. Yeah. There is no formula. And you keep on playing around, experimenting till you get it right. I told them so many times, I don't get the design. This is why my way of this, there is no right or wrong. My way of creating is not through a sketch. Now, because the brand is bigger and I need to be more organized in the way I do things. Yeah. Normally, I would create all my collections through moulaging. So I buy my fabric first. Yeah. And I go...
Before even knowing what you're going to make with them.
Nothing. Wow. And business, and that contradicts with the business. So this is why it's really commercial is the biggest enemy of art. Yeah. Really, and creativity. Because my husband is my business partner, and he used to follow my steps because this is what we both knew. I would go to Première Vision and buy fabrics, and then he would tell me, okay, which collection. He created the whole system. He really created the brand in terms of a solid brand with job descriptions, with job sheets, with numbers. So with the way I create, it doesn't work.
But it's interesting. I see that duality again.
Again, that's exactly.
It's like that duality of the creative side and and I met Basil. He is really well bien posé. But again, that duality is not a source of conflict. It's not a source of obstacle. It's
sometimes it is,
but it's kind of obstacle or conflict.
I perceived it as an obstacle for I would say a year and a half. But when I zoomed out, I found that it's a challenge.
There you go.
That's helped me a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's
but
what
when
I was
you are
the duality.
And
when
that's
you
what I
are
was
at the
looking for.
moment, you feel very offended. You feel, especially someone like me, I love my freedom. And
you're an artist.
So even when I'm in my room getting dressed and someone would walk, whether it's Basil or anyone, or even my daughter is like, Mama, it's not much. It's like I feel literally as if you stabbed me with a knife because already my mind is still working. I'm developing and I hate when I get interruptions. So this was a big interruption and a slap in my face when it's like, the way you're doing things does not work.
Yeah.
It is.
Because you were convinced about it or because you didn't hear otherwise?
Because this is all what I knew.
Yeah.
So you kind of feel, it's the subconscious. You feel that you don't know what you're doing.
But it's interesting. You said it was an obstacle, but then you zoomed out.
Yes.
So that's one of the hacks, because we look at what are the life hacks that people deploy to overcome obstacles and challenges, right?
She also had a husband who really knew her, like a business
He's my
partner.
therapist. He's my therapist. Basil is my therapist.
She said it. There's somebody who's your mirror. So you step back.
100%. That's the word.
And you trusted to step back. I mean, it takes a bit of stress as well to step back.
And a lot of strength as well.
And a strength. And he was your mirror that you
and especially
trusted.
that we learned it together.
Yeah,
so it's not that he was El-AziZ is coming to tell me, listen, it doesn't work this way. We have to do it that way.
Yeah.
So
what authority did he have to tell you that?
So it was just 100%, especially and Basil is literally like he is a media tycoon, someone he was born to do media. So he's with me in the business, yet so many times we don't have solutions for things. We know it's not working. So when someone tells me it's not working, we have to do it otherwise with zero background. And if the other way is going to work or not, you feel frustrated. You feel stubborn. Ego comes in between as well. So
he has your back, and that makes a difference.
We learned a lot in this business.
Especially with artists, the artists are quite flowy. You're right; they are almost transmitting. They're like when you're in the zone, figuring it out, bringing things together. You're in that zone, and then somebody comes and goes, "Okay, here, let's hone it down." You need to trust that when you're honing it down, you're on solid grounds rather than and he has your back with that.
100%.
So it feels like he's a mirror.
He is the investor. We have to listen to the investor.
Right. So we had to say that at the 25th minute.
So many little ticking boxes. One of them is investor.
But is this the same kind of modus operandi that you use? Because now, if I understand correctly, moving into interior design, into a furniture line.
No, so Mrs. Kipa Home. It was
Home,
it was a very organic step. All my career really is a very.
So
organic.
it's not something you said. By year 7, I'm going to.
Nothing,
do that.
Zero can be taken against me. Zero business plan, zero strategy in the sense of this is how it should work. It was all organic. And Mrs. Kipa Home came when we were furnishing and doing the interior of our flagship store in Dubai Design District. And Basil would get me all the possible contractors and interior and everybody who would submit a proposal.
And none of them was up to the level of what you wanted.
I didn't feel anything. And some of them were really amazing in the sense of super niche and stuff, but it didn't speak to me. And I was very frustrated because I've never done interior. It was not never like my house. It really took me 5 years to discover who I am in a house. Before, all the houses I lived in didn't look like me because I didn't experiment. So the last one I was like, it kept on, like literally when you walk in, you see Mariam dressed in something.
Again, layering.
Mariam dressed in something.
It's all me. So when I started to do the atelier, this is when everything was a Mrs. Kipa Home outcome. So the furniture was pre-owned. The fabric would be stock from
so upcycled
everything
again,
is upcycled, everything. And it made me experiment further and do tableware and stuff. So when you enter the atelier, every single product that is there in terms of furniture is a Mrs. Kipa home.
I love that, again, that you're bringing your personality even in that, you know, the upcycle, the sustainability.
Yes.
With the vintage, with the nostalgia. Coming back to that word, there's nostalgia, but there's also, hey, the future sustainability, the you know, you have the upcycling, all of these, and also even gender neutral, all the terminologies that are going forward, but without completely taking the glam that you were talking about, the vintage glam that you were talking about.
And you know, I never talked about, although it has been a topic, the upcycling and the sustainability has been a hot topic like from 5 years ago, and everybody would use them. I never put it in any of my websites or any of my communication. And
you applied it.
And
you just applied it.
don't act, I felt it was so cliche to talk about. I felt it was even wrong to
so to use it just for commercial reasons.
100%.
It became a whitewashing thing
it was so annoying,
industries.
especially and I would get interviews. Are you using sustainable fabric? And you go, no, I'm not, because it's not yet well developed and it does not serve the eclectic purpose. It's all linen, and whoever is using it is lying because it's only 10% or something like this. That is not really so.
But sometimes the 10% is interpreted as this is our contribution to a better world.
But they would put it at all sustainable.
But it's not.
Because it's your passion. You're passionate about it. So when you put it out there, the last thing you want is for it to be.
And maybe it was, you know what? And maybe it was not my intention. I'm someone that really, like for example, I produce everything in house. Okay, it's in my atelier, which is a sustainable way of doing things. Before, I tried factories because it was more cost efficient, but it did not work for my way of designing. I needed the team to be next to me. So it turned out to be sustainable, and it turns out to be an in-house. But
it wasn't by design.
It was.
Exactly. Oh, I like the pun on the word. It wasn't by design.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes. Oh, I didn't think of that. You're
right. Which is usually intuitive. Which is usually the intuition that comes from what we're talking about.
So it came very organically again.
Yeah.
And
beautiful.
But you know, and it's in line with, because one thing that I keep hearing, and it's not negative at all, is this unpredictability.
Oh my God! I don't know. It is why I'm Mariam Yahya, the unpredictable woman.
Was that written in the PR release? I didn't read this.
By the way, I think we need to write a new bio.
I think we need to. I don't know who's your PR agency. We need to rework that. But it's unpredictability in that a word you have used also, which is organic. You know, and it sits very well with intuitive. You know, intuitive, organic, unpredictable.
It's so unplanned. It's no way you can
that's
plan
the basis of creativity.
Yeah.
Creativity. It's not a border cutout.
No.
Creativity is anything outside the border lines.
And just like life, when you said that right at the beginning, we said life is an act of creativity, and it's kind of like the unknown. You have to it keeps unfolding in the most unpredictable of ways, and you
100%.
go, wow, I could not have even orchestrated this perfection. 100%. Holding on to the known. So that's why I feel artists, and the biggest artist obviously, but I won't go there, really have to really do follow.
But it was Dali who said, wasn't it Dali? Sorry to interrupt you, Lina. What Dali who said
I won't forgive you. But
but it's okay. I think you've learned to live with that. Okay. It's Dali who said, do not fear perfection because you will never reach it.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't see that there is. Oh my God!
But speaking of artists and creative people,
I don't think any artist loves their work.
No.
Yeah, honestly, I was speaking to Amin, a friend of ours. You know, Amin Shraisat. And the other day we said, even it was very interesting that him and I, we in the conversation that we're always self-criticism is something that we always, is it good enough? Is it not enough? He said, but it keeps us humble.
It keeps us real.
Humble.
Yeah.
Because if you think you're the best, or if you think it's like people's like, oh my God, every time you introduce a collection, we think you cannot be more creative. Yeah. I don't see what they are saying. So this is why my energy towards that, oh my God, thank you, really? Yeah. But if I knew it deep inside, oh my God, I'm the best, your energy, whether it was...
Stop growing also.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we reached out to, you mentioned Amin, we reached out to other friends and ask them to contribute to the question that we'll play for you.
It's my favorite part, always.
So I'll play the first one.
Okay.
Hi, Mariuma. I would ask you the following question. What would be the best lesson you learned since you started Mrs. Kipa? Whether it be on the creative level or on the business level? Thank you.
To never, ever listen to what's happening around. Yani, this is something that I would give myself. I was born like that. I don't care about opinions, but it was much bigger than me. Entering the fashion world, the most intimidating world where you have like every single person is a jury on who you are. At a point, you lose balance and you feel, oh my God, for example, if you get a magazine that is not covering your work or an editor-in-chief that is not giving you good
reviews,
not even reviews, not giving you attention, you start questioning because, and alhamdulillah that, again, I don't take credit in that, it's who I am, which is like I never how to say bow to this, but it was, I turned from a very confident person in a certain phase, I would say the third year, it was straight before COVID, actually. It was the year before COVID, because COVID is what made me zoom out and balance. I've watched my work from the outside and I came back stronger than ever. So I learned to really stay true to yourself, authentic, trust. If you are really an artist, you will never care about opinions. Never. The only voice you will hear is the voice of you creating. That is already a very harsh one.
Yes.
Of course. I mean, we are the worst critics of ourselves,
yes.
right?
So this is enough. And this is what I was like, should listen to myself and full stop.
You said that at the beginning as well. It goes right back to when you were in Cairo, from your Ismailia, small place, to Cairo. So it's almost like Cairo is the fashion world with chaos. But you said I owned myself. I owned who I am. I knew. I was confident on what I know, what I want.
But that got shaken like 3 years down the line. I'll tell you why. Because the brand got a lot of applauses when it first launched. So you get used, because if you're starting anything, you would expect it to grow little by little. It grew very fast and it got a lot of appeal. So this is when you wanted, or you got, maybe the ego got a bit, fuel to feel you are so important or in a place that you really are not. So this is when I felt I need everyone's approval. And I started to lose balance. And I think it got reflected even in one of my collections. And COVID came, I stayed home and I watched my work from as an outsider. I had a year to assess, and I was looking, I remember very well, I'm sitting on the couch, it's like, oh my God, I love that. Bess is like, this is the first time I hear you saying something good about your work. And this is when I even introduced a collection where people were still staying in their house that was super eclectic, and Bess is like, this is a wrong business decision. Who's gonna wear that? And because again, it was my intuition that told me to do that, it sold out literally 2 weeks after we launched, because people felt the same need. They felt that they felt they needed to buy this piece that would give them hope, even they don't know when they're going to wear it.
And it came from a real place from you. It came
100%.
from that specific
from
identity
a shared experience as well.
So I learned to really stay true to who I am and never listen or get confused by the noise around.
And that's what kept you real.
100%.
Yeah.
It takes knowing oneself. Again, I want to add that it takes, which you did. You stepped back and came back to who you really are.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. What will be next? You know, we talked about. I know it's
go big or go home.
It's a
I
paradox.
know what's next. Okay.
It's a paradox because we talked about unpredictability, organic moves, and nothing's planned. So it's almost like, you know, an oxymoron to say what is next.
Yeah.
Next is to go big or go home. It's really, I'm in a place where I want to take the business to really the next level. And when I'm saying next level, it's the commercial level. Because at the end of the day, I experimented enough. I know really who I am. I know what I want to offer. I matured up as a designer and as a businesswoman in the fashion world. And now I'm in a place where I want to really play my cards well.
That's the milestone.
100%.
For the next phase for you.
So this is what I'm going
to belong in that? What sort of ingredients can we expect out of it?
It's going to have the Mrs. Kipa, again, very focused DNA, yet it's going to have a very smart designer that knows the very thin line between keeping your DNA and staying true to yourself, and to have all offerings that still look like Mrs. Kipa. And my business model has B2C and B2B. So B2C is where I have the freedom, because all my clients come from my super eclectic pieces. So I have the space. I just want to be more mature in my offering.
Do you have another question?
I have another question.
Yes.
Not that didn't come from me. I'll play it.
Okay.
Hey Keepa, so while you were directing the movie Need Therapy, did you always envision your daughter playing a role in it?
Not at
Now
all.
I'm curious. Tell us about that, because until Muhammad Akra, shared that question.
So Need Therapy is a movie that I produced for my latest collection, SS25, whereby it was really reflective of, again, a lot of pictures on my mind, a lot of nostalgia, a lot of... Now, even when I watch it as an audience, I start discovering why the script went this way. I produced it in Egypt, where I wanted to really give tribute to where it all started. It was a crazy decision at the time because I didn't have connections. I didn't know if the vision I have on mind, I have the right people to execute it or not. But it was really one of the best, most inspiring experiences. And my daughter was never planned to be in it, neither myself. I used to fight with the director. And that was the major obstacle in this project, where everybody saw that I had to be in the movie, and I was totally against. This movie came from...
Why?
I'll tell you, because this movie was a very, again, honest step. It was not... it ended up to be a marketing propaganda. Again, I'm a marketeer, so
Yeah.
I don't do anything haphazard. It's part of who I am, being a marketeer. So the content itself was very honest. So I didn't want the message to be diluted by having people see that Mariam is using her platform, because it was big production,
Got
it was
it.
Vox Cinemas, it was
Yeah.
banners. So basically I'm giving exposure to myself with my own money,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't want this to be the main highlight. I wanted the
You
message.
wanted to
and
keep it authentic.
100%.
Yeah.
So their view, the producer and the director, saw that the story is mine.
Yeah.
If I'm not part of it,
It loses all
it
the
loses.
magic.
So we reached like a middle ground where I said, okay, I don't want my face in it. So yes, do symbolize that it's all coming from the chaos happening in my head, yet I'm not a main character in it. So you just get a hint of, okay, so, and I got asked a lot, so why, so was it you, was it a dream, was it your thought? Well, so it
Interesting.
created those, so my daughter being part of it was, again, same kind
One of those layers.
one of those layers.
Yeah.
I'm not another designer, one that wants fame, influencer, want her daughter to... But Basil here, the father who was sitting on set, and it was literally, even we shot with another girl.
Okay.
And I wanted to protect my daughter as well, because I know that it's going to be a very intimidating
Yeah.
experience for her. A lot of cameras, literally we were 150 people on set. It was a big
Wow.
production. So I know her character, she's not really built for that. So I was, as a mother, feeling that I didn't want the stress. I want to focus, and especially when I'm at work, I'm very stressed. So I wanted to focus at the picture perfect, not having to worry about Isabel, part of it. Another part, I didn't want Isabel as well to be someone, here, she's pushing her daughter.
Yeah.
But Basil came as... so the director said, okay, we filmed it already, we're safe. Let's do it with Isabel.
Interesting.
When we filmed Isabel,
So that's it.
Took
it's
it
the
to
energy.
another
The director
level.
told me,
Yeah.
if it's not your decision anymore,
Yeah.
especially, again, the story is personal. So it's like my dreams, it's very... It's like you see your daughter, but you see her with
you
another
see
mom.
yourself. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
Oh.
it's
Yeah,
part of
yeah.
the paradox.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it served everybody was happy at the end.
And where can we see that movie?
So the
Is it
movie,
on-
okay. So the movie was launched in a private preview in Vox Cinemas.
Okay.
It's still not published to the public because it's from the collection SS25.
Okay.
So
So-
it had a momentum, which was supposed, if we're thinking really marketing, it had to be published straight away because there was so much curiosity. However, the clothing and everything, people would be wanting to get...
And they're not out yet.
And I learned this, that see now by now, that
Right.
you don't see the collection.
So by the time we broadcast this
No, I'll send you the
episode,
link. I'll send you the
We
link.
will have it.
we
yeah.
will seek your
Yes.
permission
We will be
whether to
100%.
include
No,
that
I'll actually
link or
send you
not.
the link.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. That's great.
I love, again, one just last thing. Again, it's just like layer within layer within layer.
And the
within
movie is so much,
layer.
it's like Inception, by
The
the way, the
movie
movie.
is a-
So many
yes.
people left, it's like, okay, what's happening
One
here?
of my favorite movies actually is Inception,
Inception, me
because
too.
it really does like reflect.
And
the-
so many people hated it, by the way. So
But it's
people
the
that looks
mirror.
at things at surface
Yeah.
will not understand this chaos of thoughts.
The chaos, the layers, and the mirrors, and how everything is reflective of everything. And at the end of the day, it's you who's co-creating.
And at the
all
end of the day,
that.
you don't have answers, which is inception. It's like, oh my God, what just happened
You
here?
don't
You're
have
not sure.
happening.
You're still not
Exactly.
sure.
And you don't know where it's all coming from, but you're just following.
Or where it's headed.
You're just unfolding.
I'm loving this. It's all about identity. It's all about the different layers of one's identity, the unpredictability
The
Yeah.
unfolding.
and how is this all coming together to who we are today, but not sure who we will be tomorrow, because tomorrow will be just an addition of who we are today and what happened between now and then.
And what do you really stick to? What do you let go of? Like you stuck to your grounds with certain things in the movie, but then you gave in to something else. It's like such a
it
dance.
is,
It's such a dance.
And then she was like, it was a dance. Isabel was in a dance.
Oh, was she?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, no.
Well,
I can't wait to see
well,
it.
dance and movements are a big
was a
part of
dance.
Lena's
And this is the
world.
energy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So she's co-creating, co-dancing with Mom's dreams.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Another
Do you have
one.
one last question
Yes.
to ask Mariam?
Well, she answered one of them that for me was one of my most important ones, is what would she give as as an advice to younger Mariam or to those coming after you, learning from you. She partly answered it, but I'd love to ask it anyway. And we had a beautiful way of it also asked is, what would you have thanked the younger Mariam for?
Yes.
Okay. A year ago, I used to always blame my dad because I wanted to study fashion. I was just, and it wasn't coming from really like a curious place. It was just like, I wanted to travel. So what's not available in Egypt is fashion.
Yeah.
So it was really, not a deep-rooted reason. And he's like, no, you stay here. Your sister's at the American University. You're also going to study the same, la, la, la. And he stopped it for me. So I was thinking to myself, maybe if I started earlier, I would have had more time for me to reach where I wanted to reach, younger age, blah, blah, blah. But now where I'm really, everything is unfolding, like how things, as you said, like some layers come in the right time and you start looking back, it wouldn't have been done. And I'm sure if I studied fashion, I wouldn't have worked in fashion because I hate rules.
Right.
And they would have put rules in my head and it would have felt like a failure. And I think this journey, alhamdulillah, reached where it is because it was organic and not studied.
You can't structure creativity.
So I would tell myself, just trust the journey.
Beautiful.
I like
I
that.
love that.
Yeah.
I love it.
Trust the journey. Well, Mariam, we trust your journey. We trust your instinct. This was so inspiring. And we can't thank you enough for what you have shared with us, for the authenticity, for the kindness, for the love.
Thanks for having me. It was really special.
Yes. And for the layers. I
and
love
for the
those
layers.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And we can't wait to see your next creation. I don't want to say
I cannot
project.
wait to see it as well.
And of course, we can't wish you, we're not going to wish you success because you've already accomplished so much of it, but we can just wish you further joy and pleasure
Thank you.
in
I really
doing what you're
appreciate
doing.
it.
Stay
Thanks for having
curious,
me.
stay creative, and please remain unpredictable.
I will. It's not my choice.
That's great. That's great. This has been Forward Moves, hosted by Lina Nahas and Raja Haddad, where we had a good conversation with Mariam Yahya, creator of Mrs. Kipa, and her path and journey to success. If you liked our episode, please give us a 5 stars rating and tell your friends about it. This was recorded at the Podster Studios. Our producer was Sai. And until then, we just wish that you keep on moving forward.